Pinocchios. Another colleague claimed Judge Kavanaugh described contraceptives as abortion-inducing drugs. The video that my colleague shared on the internet was doctored to omit the fact that Judge Kavanaugh was describing the plaintiff's claims in a case that he decided, not his own views. My colleague was awarded 4 Pinocchios. And now, of course, that's the most Pinocchios you can get. But they still had one big card to play, which they had kept away up their sleeves for a month. Actually, for 45 days, I think. By July, the ranking member received a letter from Dr. Christine Blasey Ford alleging that Judge Kavanaugh sexually assaulted her in high school 36 years ago. Instead of referring Dr. Ford to the FBI or sharing these allegations with her colleagues, either of which would have respected and preserved Dr. Ford's confidentiality, and that's what Dr. Ford requested, the ranking member referred Dr. Ford to Democratic activist attorneys closely tied to the Clintons. The ranking member shamefully sat on these allegations for nearly 7 weeks, only to reveal them at the 11th hour when it appeared Judge Kavanaugh was headed towards confirmation because he was so qualified. The ranking member had numerous opportunities to raise these allegations with Judge Kavanaugh personally. I'll give you 6 examples. She could have discussed them with Judge Kavanaugh during their private meeting on August the 20th, a meeting which took place after her staff had sent Dr. Ford to Democratic lawyers, or another time shared them with 64 of her Senate colleagues who also met with him individually. The ranking member's staff could have raised them with Judge Kavanaugh during a background investigation follow-up call in late August. Senators could have asked Judge Kavanaugh about the allegations during his 32 hours of testimony over the course of 3 days. Judiciary members could have asked Judge Kavanaugh about this in their closed session of the hearing, which the ranking member didn't attend. The closed session is the appropriate place to bring up issues where confidentiality is supposed to be respected. And there were no questions about these allegations among the 1,300 written questions sent to Judge Kavanaugh after the hearing. This amounts to more written questions submitted to this nominee after a hearing than to all Supreme Court nominees combined. Keeping the July 30th letter secret deprived senators of having all the facts that they needed to have about this nomination. So it wasn't then until September 13th, July 30th to September 13th, nearly 7 weeks after the ranking member received these allegations and on the eve of the confirmation vote, that the ranking member referred them to the FBI. And somehow they were leaked to the press. It wasn't until those news reports on September 16th that I learned even of Dr. Ford's identity. This is an outrage. The political motives behind the Democrats' actions should be obvious to everyone. Dr. Ford requested the opportunity to tell her story to the Senate Judiciary Committee. After a lot of foot-dragging by Dr. Ford's attorneys, they finally agreed to a public hearing. As promised, I provided a safe, comfortable, and dignified forum for Dr. Ford, as well as Judge Kavanaugh. Dr. Ford was sincere in her testimonies, as was Judge Kavanaugh, who emphatically denied the allegations. It's true that confirmation hearings aren't a trial, but trials have rules based on common sense notions of fairness and due process, not the other way around. It's a fundamental aspect of fairness, a fundamental aspect of due process, that the accuser have the burden of proving allegations. Judge Kavanaugh was publicly accused of a crime, and his reputation and livelihood were at stake, so it was only fair that his accuser have the burden of proof. The consensus is that the burden was not met. Ultimately, the existing evidence, including the statements of 3 alleged eyewitnesses named by Dr. Ford, refuted Dr. Ford's version of the facts. Our investigative nomination counsel, Rachel Mitchell, who has nearly 25 years of experience advocating for sexual assault victims and investigating sex crimes, concluded that there was lack of specificity and simply too many inconsistencies in Dr. Ford's allegations to establish that Judge Kavanaugh committed sexual assault. Even under the lowest standard of proof, she concluded, quote, "A he said, she said case is incredibly difficult to prove, but this case is even weaker than that. Dr. Ford identified other witnesses to the events, and those witnesses either refuted her allegations or failed to corroborate them. For the reasons discussed below, I do not think that a reasonable prosecutor could bring this case based upon the evidence before the committee, nor do I believe that this evidence is sufficient to satisfy the preponderance of evidence standard," end of quote. So, we have thoroughly investigated Judge Kavanaugh's background. In addition to the prior 6 FBI full field background investigations with the interviews of nearly 150 people who have known Judge Kavanaugh his entire life, the committee also separately and thoroughly investigated every credible allegation that we received. Our more than 20 committee staff members have worked night and day over the last many weeks, tracking down virtually all leads, and at the request of undecided members, the FBI reopened Judge Kavanaugh's background investigation for another week. The FBI interviewed 10 more people related to the latest credible sexual assault allegations, and the FBI confirmed what we Senate investigators already concluded. That is this: there's nothing in the supplemental FBI background investigation report that we didn't already know. These uncorroborated accusations have been unequivocally and repeatedly rejected by Judge Kavanaugh, and neither the Judiciary Committee nor the FBI could locate any third parties who can attest to any of the allegations. There also is no contemporaneous evidence. This investigation found no hint of misconduct, and the same is true of 6 prior FBI investigations conducted during Judge Kavanaugh's 25 years of public service. Nothing an investigator, including career FBI special agents, does